Secret treaties, the promises that locked the world into war. How hidden agreements turned a crisis into a catastrophe. When the world fell into war in 1914, many believed it happened suddenly. A gunshot in Sarajevo, a rash decision in Vienna, a cascade no one could stop. But the truth is more disturbing. By the time the crisis began, the world was already trapped, bound by promises most people never knew existed. This episode is about the agreements made in secret and the silence that made them deadly. The age of secret diplomacy. In the early 20th century, diplomacy was not transparent. It was private, exclusive, and deliberately hidden from the public. Treaties were negotiated behind closed doors, often without parliamentary oversight. Leaders believed secrecy preserved peace, but secrecy also removed accountability. And when nations do not know what others have promised, every crisis becomes a guessing game. One miscalculation can trigger obligations no one can undo. Alliances meant to prevent war. Europe's great powers formed alliances to protect themselves. Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy bound themselves together in the Triple Alliance. France, Russia, and Britain gradually aligned in what became the Triple Entente. On paper, these agreements were defensive. They promised mutual support if attacked. But alliances do something dangerous. They reduce the cost of risk-taking. When leaders believe allies will back them, they act more boldly, sometimes recklessly. The problem with entanglement. These treaties did not exist in isolation. They overlapped, contradicted each other, and created obligations that could not be paused or renegotiated in a crisis. A local conflict no longer stayed local. If Austria-Hungary acted, Germany was committed. If Russia mobilized, France was expected to support it. If France was threatened, Britain felt pressure to respond. This is what historians call entangling alliances. Once activated, they move faster than diplomacy. The blank check. Perhaps the most consequential promise of all came in July 1914. Germany offered Austria-Hungary unconditional support, later known as the blank check. This was not a formal treaty clause. It was worse. It was a guarantee without limits. Austria-Hungary now believed it could act against Serbia without fear of isolation. Germany believed this show of strength would deter others. Both assumptions were catastrophically wrong. Britain's strategic ambiguity. Britain's position was especially dangerous. Unlike others, Britain had no explicit treaty requiring it to fight. Instead, it relied on understandings, informal agreements, and expectations. France believed Britain would stand by it. Germany hoped Britain would stay neutral. Britain said just enough to encourage both beliefs. This ambiguity was meant to preserve flexibility. Instead, it magnified miscalculation. When war came, everyone felt betrayed. Why secrecy made diplomacy fail. During the July crisis, leaders tried to negotiate, but diplomacy failed for one reason above all others. No one knew the full picture. Each government acted on partial information and worst-case assumptions. If alliances had been public and limited, pressure for restraint might have existed. Instead, secrecy created panic, and panic produces speed, not wisdom. Promises that couldn't be broken. The world did not slide into war unknowingly. It was pushed by promises leaders felt unable to break. Secret treaties were meant to preserve balance. Instead, they removed choice. By the end of July 1914, peace no longer depended on reason or restraint. It depended on agreements written years earlier by men who never imagined how they would be used. If this changed how you see the outbreak of World War I, there's more to uncover. Subscribe to Hidden History Fact Vault for history without shortcuts. Were secret treaties necessary or a fatal mistake? Share your thoughts. Next, the assassination, the spark that lit the fuse.